What's up out there? Welcome back to the Halloween Horror Movie Marathon of 2022. This is week 4. Now, I'm in a different room today. I moved everything over into this room. It might be a little bit echoey. Sorry about that. I'm planning on getting this room painted, taken care of. I just haven't had time, so I have to deal with it and try to edit out as much of the nasty audio as possible. So this week, I watched several movies, and I started off, there was an animated requirement for this year's marathon. We had to watch 2 of them, and I actually watched these Monday and Tuesday. So the first one I watched was The Adventures of Ichabod and Mr. Toad. This is a Disney movie from 1949, directed by some people I've never heard of. I didn't list them on there. The cast of note was Bing Crosby. I guess he voiced something in this somewhere along the way. The category of this was animated. This was a Vudu rental, and this is a U.S. movie. I gave this one 3 out of 5 stars, and if you like Disney stuff, this wasn't bad, so I'd recommend it for that regard. But for the horror marathon, this really didn't fit. When I got done with this, I wasn't feeling like this belonged in it. But I'm going to count it because the last few minutes did count. So when this says it's The Adventures of Ichabod and Mr. Toad, what it really means is there are 2 stories. It's like a 68 or something like that minute cartoon. And basically half of it is Mr. Toad running around with his little story. And then the other half is Ichabod. And so neither one are really Halloween related at all. The first one definitely not. More maybe Christmas or something like that. And then the Ichabod part, I mean, it's Ichabod and Sleepy Hollow, that kind of thing. He goes to a town. He spends a lot of time eating at people's houses and stuff, trying to find some woman that's going to take him in and feed him and all this. And it isn't until like the last 3 or 5 minutes that you actually see the Headless Horseman and anything related to horror. Like I said, I almost didn't include this one. I don't know. It was pretty cool. The animation was really well done, and the Headless Horseman bit was awesome. Like the animation on that was phenomenal. Under different circumstances, I would actually have probably liked this, but trying to watch this for a horror movie marathon, it kind of didn't fit, but I'm going to count it just so I'm not big on animated movies. But I enjoyed this one. I gave it 3 out of 5 stars, and that is The Adventures of Ichabod and Mr. Toad from 1949. Next up is a movie called Mad God, and this is from 2021, directed by Phil Tippett. I didn't recognize the cast. It is another animated movie. This one is on Shudder. This is made in the U.S., and I gave this one 3.5 out of 5 stars. If you're into Tool videos like the Sober video and all that, this is a feature-length version of that. Now, Phil Tippett apparently is big on animation. I think I know the name, but I don't really know him from other movies or whatever. But I think he did the story that I saw, on Wikipedia or whatever. He did, I think, the robot in RoboCop 2, God, what am I trying to think of? Claymation. The claymation for that. And somewhere around that time is when he started creating the Mad God film itself, and then eventually it became the movie that it is today. So it's been worked on for like 30 years or something like that, and conceptualized, or little bits and pieces have been put together. Now this movie is pretty much silent. It's not a silent film, but there's no speech. Like there's some garbled talk. There's noises and things like that, but it's mostly just this stuff happening. It's very well animated. I gave this one 3.5 out of 5 stars. Like I really wanted to give this 4 stars, but I understood it. I enjoyed it. I kept wanting to pull up my phone because I don't want to say it was boring, but it was just not. I kept wanting to fiddle with my phone because there wasn't really. While there were a lot of things going on the screen that I couldn't take my eyes from, I was not riveted to it. So I kept finding myself drawn to watching the film, but then some things would happen and it would get a little bit slow and I'd go back to my phone and then it would change and do something else. Like it was phenomenal to watch the whole time, but there just wasn't, I don't know, a full length Tool video. Just didn't take the music off and just put the animation with some sound effects. That's what it is for an hour and a half or something like that. It was good. I really liked it. But it is an hour and a half of that, so it's kind of difficult to watch. So 3.5 out of 5 stars for Mad God from 2021. Next up was Crimes of the Future from 2022. This is a David Cronenberg film, and I needed a Cronenberg film for one of the categories, so here we are. The cast of note was Viggo Mortensen, Leah Seydoux, I'm probably butchering that, Scott Speedman, he was the guy from Underworld, he was the werewolf guy from Underworld. I didn't recognize him, and then I looked at who all the cast was, and I saw him, and I'm like, oh yeah, I know him from Underworld. And then Kristen Stewart. Watch this on Vudu. This is a Canadian movie, so it fits one of the countries we needed. And I'm going to give this one 3 out of 5 stars. If you like sci-fi and body horror, like this was a really good sci-fi story with a lot of body horror and stuff in it. The problem that I had is at the very beginning, they show you a murder. And then you get an ending to that. You get some things described to you and you get like a case solution or whatever. But the bulk of the movie is Viggo Mortensen's character. And it's almost like the murder's a total side story to him. And I need to watch this again. I ended up buying it because it was just a few dollars more to buy it. So I own it. I'm going to watch it again someday. But I would give this thing 3.5 or maybe 4 stars. But it just... Viggo's character took over the entire production of this thing, and it was very difficult to separate out him from the rest of it. And, you know, the rest of it was going on, but it was almost like the movie was about him and not this other stuff. But the other stuff was just there to kind of propel you along his story arc. I don't know. I don't know if that's the way to describe it or not, but Kristen Stewart's part was very small. I liked her in Underwater. I think it was Underwater. I can't remember now. I think it's a movie called Underwater. It's underwater sea monster things. I liked her in that. But here, her part, I mean, she did a good job on her part. And the character she played was kind of weird. And like, she fit that role very well. But there just wasn't enough of her character in this movie. So because of that, I only gave it 3 out of 5 stars. If you're into like future sci-fi, Soylent Green, Logan's Run kind of sci-fi where you're looking at what society could be in 50 years or something like that. That's what this is. And I really appreciated it from that standpoint, but from the other side of it, I think I just need to see it again. So 3 out of 5 stars for Crimes of the Future from 2022. For the next film that I watched, it is The Town That Dreaded Sundown. This is from 1976, directed by Charles B. Pierce, and the category is Charles B. Pierce. We had to pick so many from certain directors like Cronenberg and Pierce, so that's why this one is here. Did not know any of the cast. Watched this on Vudu. I think I had to rent it. This is a U.S. movie. I think, no, this is just a U.S. movie. It might fall into that regional category, but the category I got this for was the director. I gave this one 3 out of 5 stars. It was kind of charming in a 70s sort of way. There was some weird comedy in it, and it's about a serial killer, what we would call a serial killer these days. And I think it's based on a true story. Somebody goes around killing people in the 40s. They manhunt him and don't catch him. There is I don't know if you want to call it a sequel or a reboot or a C-reboot or something like that. There was one made in 2014. It was newer. I watched that one a while back, a few years ago, and I don't remember liking it that much. This one I actually dug, and I kind of want to go back and watch the other one now and maybe watch both of them, not during this marathon, because I'm watching so many movies. It's hard to digest everything all at once. I did like this. I did enjoy this. This was well made, and I think I want to see the second one now, or the remake, reboot, whatever you want to call it. I gave this one 3 out of 5 stars. I enjoyed it, and like I said, I kind of want to see it again. So that is The Town That Dreaded Sundown from 1976. Because it's Saturday, I watched 2 movies today, and I almost forgot about the one. The first one I watched today is Deathline from 1972. This was directed by Gary Sherman. This is a British film, so it's made in the UK. The category is Christopher Lee, which we'll get into in a second here. I watched this on Vudu, and I'm going to give this one 3.5 out of 5 stars. I would recommend this if you're into these kind of movies, and we'll get into what this actually is here in a second. But the cast of note is Donald Pleasence and Christopher Lee. Now, some of the other people I might have known from somewhere, but Donald Pleasence was really the main star of this whole movie. And for me, I know him from Halloween, so I don't really know him. Like, I realized he's a British actor. I don't know why I never put 2 and 2 together, because I've only ever seen him in Halloween. maybe a couple other movies here and there, but this is an actual British movie. And because I saw him in his native land, it kind of, a bell went off and I'm like, oh, hey, okay, so he's British. Christopher Lee is in this movie, and that's all I can say. He was in there for like 2 minutes. He came in as this MI5 character. So the movie is basically about somebody disappears and they start trying to figure out where the guy went and what happened to him. Turns out he's got some kind of state secrets in his head or something, and that's where the whole MI5 angle comes in. And Christopher Lee comes along and says, you guys got to back off this. And he comes in very strongly and shows the detectives the door and says, get out. I'm doing this. But that's the only time you see him in the entire movie. He's in there just to walk in, tell the Donald Pleasance and his first lieutenant or whatever, you're out, you're done, and sends them on their way. And then you never see Christopher Lee again. So he was in this movie, and maybe they used his name for this movie's, I don't know, but he was in this, and I had to pick 2 movies with Christopher Lee in it. Unfortunately, I probably can't call this one a Christopher Lee movie, but I dug this. So basically, this ends up being kind of Midnight Meat Train because it takes place in a train station and all that. And I think that's probably where Midnight Meat Train gets its, takes reference from. There was a couple other things, like towards the end of it, you go back into the subway bit, and it's kind of reminded me of Alien 3. Some of the prison planet, the way it was set up. But mostly what this is it's like some people get trapped. They're digging or whatever, and this roof collapses and they get buried and left in there. So over the years, they become cannibals, and next thing you know, they're killing people on the train, the subway, or whatever. And that's kind of how this goes. It was not bad. It was not a bad movie. Like I said, I gave this one 3.5 out of 5 stars. I dug this one quite a bit and had a lot of fun watching it. And I mean, Christopher Lee's performance was great for the short time he was in. So that is Deathline from 1972. Now, the final movie I watched today I just got done watching this, is a movie called Fair Game. This is from 1986, directed by Mario Andriacchio. Cast of note, I didn't recognize anybody in here. This is basically, I picked this one because it's an Australian film, and it is made in Australia. I watched this on Vudu. I gave this one 3.5 out of 5 stars, and I would recommend this. If you're a horror movie, revenge type fan, this is the movie for you. This was well done. Somewhere I saw somebody make a comment that whoever shot this went on to shoot some other more known films, and I don't remember what they are, but after I noticed that comment, I started paying attention to how everything was shot, and the way they styled this movie was fantastic. It's kind of sort of a little bit Mad Max-ish, and I don't say that because it's Australian. I say that because of the truck they used, and some of the things that they did in this movie reminded me of Mad Max. But basically, this chick runs a, what do you call it? A nature preserve or something like that, animal preserve for kangaroos. These 3 dudes come in and start killing her kangaroos. They start terrorizing her. They do all kinds of things to her. And then, she gets her revenge, and that's that. What really set me onto this was, somebody mentioned this in a previous year, probably 2, 3, 4 years ago, mentioned this movie. I thought the poster art looked awesome, and I really wanted to see this. So it's been on my list. I just haven't had a way to put it in here. And then this year I needed a country. So I said, well, I'll, flop this one in there, and it fills out one of the country slots. This was really good. This was really good. I enjoyed this a lot. You see the back country of Australia, the truck in this thing I thought was phenomenal. It's got kind of that Mad Max-ish look to it, like I was saying earlier, but they also had some sound effects with it. Like when it's revving up, it sounds like a beast roaring, and just the way they filmed it, and they showed the truck a lot. Like the truck wasn't just you see it every once in a while. Like they really focused in on that truck. They took a lot of shots of it from low at the tires, looking up. And I mean, they made the thing look menacing. They put all these bars and stuff on it. It almost looks like an elephant or something. Phenomenal looking vehicle that was kind of a character of its own. And I really liked that about this. I liked the whole movie, but I really liked that truck. So yeah, this was good. This was a really good movie. Really solid revenge flick. So this is Fair Game from 1986, and that will do it for this week. We'll be back with more next week. So take care.